Okay, so this is made for somebody who is a beginner to bikes and really doesn't want to bring their tire into a bike shop and get it fixed, and would maybe like to learn to change their tire on the trail or something like that, so that they don't have to wait forever for the bike to get back. Okay, so you're going to want to start with taking the axle and unscrewing. There's going to be a lever, and you're going to want to pull it outwards, and then start turning it once it's outwards. Be sure to grab the little bead on the other side, or bolt, or whatever you might want to call it, so that you can actually unscrew. And while you're doing that, you want to make sure that when you pull the axle out,
It's round. It's a skewer.
and you're going to want to make sure that when you pull the skewer and or axle out,
No,
that
skewer.
the skewer or the axle out,
No,
whatever.
skewer.
And you're going to want to make sure that when you pull the skewer out, which is the long metal rod that will pull out of the hub area, that your spring does not fall out, because you need to keep the spring for when you apply it back on. Now, pull the skewer out.
You could say if you pulled your skewer out, you're skewered.
You're going to still be holding on to the bolt at the other side. Pull the bolts out and be careful to not let the spring on the end fall. Put the skewer and the bolt in the same place and do not lose them. Now you can lift the tire up and it will come off of your fork. Take it out and put it down. Now that the tire's off, I'm going to pass this video over to Bill, who is actually a licensed bike mechanic.
So we're here in the shop on the trail talking about tube replacement. When you get a flat tire, you got to replace it. A couple things to keep in mind is that once you have the wheel off the bike, you got to take the bead off the rim, so the bead of the tire off the rim. And you can do that by hand on most tires now, 26-inch tire. The plus size tires, the 27.5s and the 29ers, are getting a little more difficult, and then tubeless is a whole different ball game that we'll cover later on. So remove the bead from the rim, apply it off. You'll be able to access the tube. Take the old tube out, discard it. You can patch it up later if you want to and keep it for a spare, but most people just discard them nowadays. After that, then we're going to pull the new tube out, shoot a little bit of air into the tube so it takes a little bit of form, and then put it neatly into the tire. Make sure your valve stem is put in properly and straight at a straight 90-degree angle to the rim. Once that's in, work the bead, start at the valve side of the tire, put that bead on first, and then work it around the outside with your thumbs is the best way to do it. Try not to use a lever, a tire lever, to put the tire back on the rim, because you risk puncturing the tube when you do that. So work it with your hands if you can. Once that's on, make sure it's seated. Put a bit more air into it. Take note of where the bead sits on the rim. You want to make sure it's nice and even. You have no highs and lows. And then continue pumping to your recommended PSI, whether it be trail or road. It all varies. Rider size, rider preference, a number of factors there for tire pressure. That's a whole other ball game. All right, thanks. We'll catch you later.
Cool. Well, once you've finished what Bill just explained, you're going to want to take your axle, skewer, whatever you might want to call it, and then take the wheel and seat it back up where the hub should be, right? Or where the forks come down like this, you're going to see it right here, like that. You're going to try to take the wheel and put it in between and sit it up there. Once it's there, you're going to need to slide the axle into that, just like that. And then once you slid it in, you're going to want to take make sure that your spring is on the end when you slide it back in, and that's why you needed to keep them so safe, right? Next thing you need to do is put the spring on the other side of the axle, and then take the bead at the other side and put it in like that. Hold the bead and start to twist back in like that. After it's twisted to a fair amount, and you can't get it any further, then you're gonna wanna take it and push it like this down into the bike, and that will be the end. So I hope you enjoyed this. As you know, this was all shot at Macintosh Mills, front of Young, and this is welcome to everybody. This bike shop was actually filmed right beside Macintosh Mills, front of Young Trails, right? And if you ever need some more complicated stuff done, then feel free to drop by here.